The day rock lost Brad Arnold, though at first it didn't feel real. Because some voices don't just belong to a person, they belong to a time. To late-night drives. To first heartbreaks. To moments when you didn't have the words. But somehow the song did. Today, the rock world is facing one of those headlines that stops you cold. Brad Arnold, the founding member and unmistakable voice of Three Doors Down, has passed away at just 47 after a battle with cancer. And if you grew up in the early 2000s, this one hits different. Because his voice wasn't background noise. It was the soundtrack. But to understand why this loss feels so personal to millions, we have to go back to where it all started, Ice That Defined a Generation song written in math class. Here's something that still sounds almost unbelievable. Kryptonite, the song that launched everything, wasn't written in some glamorous studio after years of struggle. It was written in math class. Brad was just 15 years old. Think about that for a second. A teenager sitting at a desk, probably half listening to equations, scribbling lyrics that would later define an entire era of rock music. That song didn't just chart, it exploded. It became one of those tracks that, the second the opening riff hits, everyone knows exactly where they were the first time they heard it. And that's rare. Most artists spend years chasing one hit. Brad Arnold wrote his before he could even drive. But that wasn't luck. It was instinct. And that instinct would shape everything that followed. The voice that felt like real life. There are singers who are technically perfect. And then there are singers who feel honest. Brad was honest. His voice carried grit, but it also carried vulnerability. It sounded strong without sounding arrogant. Emotional without sounding dramatic. Songs like Here Without You, When I'm Gone, and Be Like That didn't rely on complicated metaphors or flashy production. They were direct, simple, relatable, and that's why they lasted. You didn't need to decode his lyrics. You just felt them. His music wasn't about fantasy. It was about real people navigating real emotions. Distance, doubt, loyalty, love, uncertainty. That's why fans didn't just listen to Three Doors Down. They lived with them. But even as arenas filled and albums sold millions, Brad stayed grounded. And that might be the most remarkable part of the story. Fame without losing himself. Rock stardom changes people. We've seen it happen again and again. But those who worked with Brad often describe something different. Humility. A deep sense of gratitude. He wasn't chasing controversy. He wasn't chasing headlines. He was chasing connection. And as the years went on, something else became more visible in his life. His faith. Not in a loud, preachy way, but in a steady, grounded way. He spoke openly about believing that purpose doesn't disappear when things get hard. That strength doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means standing firm when it isn't. And that mindset would become crucial when life took an unexpected turn. Because the hardest chapter was still ahead. The diagnosis that changed everything. When Brad revealed his cancer diagnosis, it shocked fans around the world. He had been battling kidney cancer that had spread, and suddenly the future felt uncertain. Tours were cancelled, plans were paused, and the man who once stood under bright stage lights was now facing a fight far more personal. But here's what stood out. He didn't speak with fear. He spoke with calm. He talked about trust, about faith, about believing that his story wasn't finished yet. Even as his body weakened, his tone remained steady. And for fans watching from a distance, that strength became part of his legacy too. Because courage isn't loud. Sometimes it's quiet, a peaceful goodbye. On Saturday, February 7th, Brad Arnold passed away peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by his wife Jennifer and family. No chaos, no spectacle, just love in the room. And while the band asked for privacy, the world reacted immediately. Tributes began pouring in. Fellow musicians, longtime friends, and fans from every corner of the globe shared memories. Clips of concerts resurfaced. Lyrics flooded social media. Stories of how his music helped people through dark seasons filled comment sections. Because when someone's voice becomes part of your life, losing them feels personal. But this isn't just about loss. It's about impact. Sometimes it's simply choosing not to give in. But even courage doesn't stop time. Why his music will never fade. Brad Arnold didn't just leave behind albums. He left behind moments. The first time you sang Kryptonite at the top of your lungs. The slow dance to Here Without You. The quiet strength you found in When I'm Gone. His songs became emotional timestamps. They mark where you were in life, who you were with, what you were feeling. And that's the thing about music. Artists may leave the stage, but the songs don't. They echo. They carry forward into new memories. And that's why this story doesn't end in silence. It ends in replay. Brad Arnold was just 47. Too young. Too soon. But in those 47 years, he created something that most artists spend a lifetime chasing. Connection. He wrote a song in math class that changed his life. He built a band that defined a generation of rock. He faced illness with grace. And he left this world surrounded by love. The voice may be gone from the stage, but it's still in the speakers, still in the memories, still in the soundtrack of millions of lives. And that's not just a legacy. That's immortality. If Brad's music meant something to you, tell us in the comments where you were the first time you heard Kryptonite. Because sometimes remembering together is the best way to say goodbye.
Thank you, my viewer. I hope you keep it here on my channel for more discoveries on all the celebrities' untold journeys. Like, comment, and subscribe on Hajara Rama channel. Thank you so much.